I surely hope you like numbers, because today we're gonna do division. Hello and welcome, my leaves that can be divided by 2. Mathematics. Yeah, that's how all fun conversations start, right? Okay, what am I going to talk about here? It's damage formulas. So, I am making a game, and you might make a game as well. And games, basically, no matter what you do, but especially RPGs, are just numbers. Like these. Now, you might notice something. If you're making an RPG, or anything that does damage stuff, you gotta need a damage formula, right? Because you can't just go like, okay, it does that much damage. No. It needs to take into account at least attack and defense. So we keep it very simple with these 2. And I will tell you why dividing by 2 is an important step you need to take into account into your damage formula. Especially if you make a monster taming game, creature capturing, whatever you want to call it, a Pokemon, Digimon-like, stuff like that. The thing is, look at these 2 monsters. Now their stats, attack and defense. Do you notice something? Yeah, this has 100 attack and 50 defense. This has 100 attack and 80 defense. This one is supposed to be a very defensive monster. But, well, the attack is higher? Isn't that weird? That's weird, right? Now the problem is, if we would say, okay, you are supposed to be an actually defensive monster, 160 it is. Now you have an attack of 100 and a defense of 160. Yeah, that is very defensive. The most basic formula you can do for calculating damage is take the attacker's attack and, well, subtract the attacked defense from that. But if you do 100 minus 160, you get minus 60. That's a negative number. Okay, we can apply that in programming so that it doesn't heal but does 0 damage. 0 damage is not good. Okay, we can make it so that 0 damage is not possible and you always do at least 1 damage. Still not good. That's just not working. But the thing is, if the player can see the numbers, you wanna show through the numbers that something defensive is defensive. So the defense needs to be higher than the attack. So that 160 needs to be there. But that's just the trick. If you in that damage formula divide the 160 by 2, so that it's basically this. Attack minus defense divided by 2. Then you get 100 minus 80 and do 20 damage. Still not a lot of damage, but it takes the best of both worlds. You gotta show that this is defensive, while at the same time you can still do damage, you know? And yeah, you do a lot more damage to a non-defensive monster like this 51, where something would do 50 damage. And thus, the division by 2 is a very important step that also most RPGs I know the formulas of, like Pokemon for example, do exactly that step. So if you are struggling with the problem, which is a problem I also struggled with in the beginning of trying to figure out how a damage formula could work, this is a key point that just works. Now, I say divide by 2. Keep that in mind. Because it doesn't have to be by 2. You could do 1.8, you could do division by 3. That really depends on the fine things about your game. Not, dividing by 2 is not the go-to answer in general, but the dividing part is important. Divide it by something so that a strong defensive monster also in the stats looks defensive. Like I said, this is especially important in monster taming games because those are the games where you can definitely see the stats of your opponents. Maybe not of the opponents themselves, but of the monsters they have if you have them yourself. And you need to convey to the player that a defensive monster is defensive by having a higher defense than it has attack. Or other stats. Might be a high defense, high attack monster. Of course, then both would be high. But I think you know what I mean here. So definitely keep that in mind. And that's enough juggling with numbers for today. I hope this helped you. And if you struggled with that, I hope that it taught you something. Because that's what I like to do. So yeah, also check out this video on screen right here. Help me not dying by leaving a like and a subscribe. That really helps me. Share the video around and yeah, subscribe especially because those numbers are not good. And we'll see each other next time. So until then, bye-bye.